Hello and welcome everyone to Mystical Tarot. So last week I did a few videos that I posted online and I realized they did not turn out the way that I wanted to. So I am redoing these videos today. The first video that I'm doing a redo on is the VR response to Katey Flowers only 10 decks. And for that, it was 10 decks that you couldn't live without, that if something happened, you wanted to have them, and you had to choose, if a fire were to come in your house, you would grab those decks and leave your rest of your collection behind. So I did come up with my decks. I did change it a little bit from the last video. I added 2 more tarot, took out 2 oracle, because after the last week or so, I really realized that my tarot I love more than my oracle. Don't get me wrong, I love my oracle decks. I love that they do different things, they have different messages, but I really, really loved my tarot more. So I went and chose more tarot decks. So without further ado, let's get started. And we're going to start with one oracle deck that I did leave in, and that is the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. I love this deck. What's great about this oracle here is that literally you can use it in any single reading that you can think of. So if you're using it, doing a spiritual reading, a love reading, financial reading, a career reading, any type of reading these can be used in. They come in this beautiful box, so they're nice and safe and sturdy. And the guidebook is just amazing. There's so much information in this guidebook about the cards. So if you need to delve a little deeper into them or understand them a little bit better, there's a lot of information in here for them. But the cards themselves are pretty self-explanatory also. They have the animal, and then it usually will say the, like a little thing at the bottom, like a little quote or something like time for beginner mind. So they're really nice. The artwork is just beautiful on these. They really catch your eye. They really, I put the back the right way, sorry. But they just really have a beautiful message to them, and they can be used in every single type of reading that you're looking to do. The animals go all the way from little insects all the way up to birds, to big mammals, to dolphins. So there's a lot of variety in here. They even have the skunk, okay? And that's kind of neat because a lot of people don't like skunks. But they have different animals, and it is just beautiful. It is just a deck that is lovely. The words, the messages are just great, and they are so well rounded that they can be used in any type of reading, which is why I like these. It is a more all over deck where a lot of my oracle are very certain based on certain readings. So I have a lot of spiritual oracle, or I have a lot of oracle that are based on money or life purpose and stuff like that. And these I love because they're so well-rounded. They can be used for cards of the day even. I've used them for card of the day just to get a nice little, message for me what I should be doing during the day. So I just love it. I love this cow spirit. I think he's so cute. Or she. Sorry, it's a she. Doesn't have horns. But I think it's amazing. And this turkey, I mean, all the animals that are depicted here are just beautiful. They really flow. They even have cats and dogs in here. So there's just so many different options. There's literally 68 cards in this oracle deck, which is almost as big as your typical tarot deck. So it just gives you so many different options and so many different answers. And so that is why I would keep this oracle deck. I will be honest, when I first got it, I bought it once and I didn't use it very much. I just didn't tune to it. And then I gave it to a friend, and then about 7 months later, I felt like I was missing a part, a really important part for my tarot readings, and I realized it was missing this deck. And so I went out and I bought it again, and I have been using it in my reading since. I do have a lot of animal spirit decks. I do love my animals. I'm the kind of person that loves animals in their tarot cards and people in their tarot cards. I will look at both options. I know a lot of people are usually split between the two, but I really love both. So that is my one oracle. It's the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. And I'll have all the links for all these decks in the description box below. So let's get on to the tarot, because that's the fun part. So for my first tarot deck that I would keep is the Tattoo Tarot, Ink and Intuition. I picked this up. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not at first, but it's really grown on me. It really just, I mean, the box is beautiful. It came in this wonderful box, and I would keep the cards in the box, but it's just so big that it just doesn't fit where I keep my usual go-to cards. It comes with a very, very small little guidebook. Kind of goes over, you know, the different cards and little meanings and stuff. But what's neat about them is they're more Marseille type, which is nice because more Marseille type deck of cards, which is why I wanted to include it, because I didn't have in the first one I did a Marseille type deck. So these are beautiful. I love them. The card stock is just amazing. They're huge. I will be honest, I think I got a deck that was a little warped. You can tell mine just kind of bends up and everything, but I don't really care. I love cards that have been loved, that have some, you know, show that they've actually been used and stuff, and I'm not one to pass up any type of deck that has that kind of love. I love finding secondhand decks and buying them, and using them. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I know a lot of people do. I just love them. These cards here, they shuffle like a dream. They are very thick, but you can still rifle shuffle them. Just takes some work to get them to go. But they are just, you know, they're great stock. They're beautiful. And the cards themselves are just amazing. I love the artwork. They have this tattoo-like style, but then also they have the Marseille type of pip cards, which is awesome. And it is really neat just looking at the images. I mean, they really give you a different idea, a different meaning to some of the cards, and they're just beautiful to work with. I love that they have this like yellowed color to them, so they look like they're antique, but they're not. And I just love the vibrant colors with the black around them. I'm a big fan of art like that. When I draw, I do a lot of the same kind of style where I have these big, thick black lines, and then I have the color inside of them. And so I love them for that reason. But you can tell that it is slightly based on a Marseille style, with the way that the pip cards are, but it's just beautiful. And the way they did it just really came out beautifully. The coins, I love the way that the coins are. I love the way that the cups look. I mean, just every little thing. Even though they're basic, there's still nice little details in it. Like the 6 of coins having 2 hands, give and receive, really helps you, you know, remember that the 6 of coins is about, you know, charity and giving and receiving. And then I love the designs of the major arcana. They're just beautiful. The court cards are great. There's just so much information in these cards that you really stop and take a look at them. And so I really, really, really love these cards. I think they're beautiful. And I think that they really do a good version of doing a Marseille type style of a deck. I'm not a big Marseille fan. I have a couple decks that are Marseille style. I don't really use them that much, except for this one. I just love the way this one looks. I think that they turned out well. I think that the deck talks to me. That's the other big problem with the Marseille decks I have. Some of them they just don't talk to me yet. Maybe they will down the road. I don't know. We'll find out. A lot of my decks, I sometimes buy them, and then I have to come back to them months later, and then finally they're like, hey, I'm going to work for you now, and let's do some work together finally. So they're a little moody at times. So this is the Tattoo Tarot, and this is my first tarot deck that I would keep. So this is deck number 2. Next deck would be my Starchild Tarot. So I actually own both copies of the Starchild Tarot. I own the regular version, which is much larger, which is actually the box is about the size of this book here. And I own the Akashic version. I love the Akashic version because it is smaller. It's easier for me to handle. I have very small hands, so bigger cards are difficult for me to shuffle. They're difficult for me to use. I can use them, but it's just very hard. Just like the Moonchild Tarot by Daniel Noel also. I love it. It's just a little bit harder for me to use. So when this came out, I had to have it. It comes with this beautiful guidebook that's bigger than the cards themselves, and it really goes into a lot of different details, especially with the major arcana. It talks about what chakras are associated, gemstones, planets, symbols, guides. So it's really, really awesome because there's a lot of books out there that really talk about these correspondences and everything like that. And I mean, there's huge books on them. For example, this book by T. Susan Chang is all about tarot correspondence. You can see how massive this book is. And so to have it into one area with one small book definitely makes a huge difference. But that's kind of where these go, and that's what's really awesome about this. And the deck is, the book is great. I mean, it's a great quality, and I love it. It's actually, when I got the other Starchild version, I actually got a tinier booklet than I did with this, so it's kind of funny. And I will be doing a review showing the differences between the two decks because there is a huge difference between them, especially in imagery. And I think it's important that people that are looking to make the decision on which deck to buy know that there's a huge difference in that. So it comes in a great box. It says we are all Stardust. I love that. My cards are, this is one of my soul decks. So I did start using this at first for other people. Now I usually only do readings with this deck for myself. So you can tell it's been a little bent, a little warped. It's had some love gone into it. These were more solid gold originally, but they kind of worn off because I've just been using them so much. The cardstock itself is very thick, which is very nice. That means that, I've beaten these cards up and they're still doing pretty well. They do shuffle well. Does take a little bit of strength to get the rifle shuffle going. And then the overhand shuffle, they shuffle like a dream. When you first pick this deck up, there is this matte finish to them that tends to make the cards stick. I have shuffled these cards so much now that there is none of that left. So if you ever come across a deck like that and you just don't want to use it because the cards are sticking to each other, literally take your cards, and if you're doing whatever, like I would be watching my baby, and I'd just be shuffling the cards to get the matte finish off, or watching TV and shuffling the cards, because it really helps and it gets that off of there, so it's not so bad when you're trying to shuffle. The images on these cards are just beautiful. I love the way that they are. They're more of a collage art with photographs and probably, some kind of graphic design element inside of them, but I just love the way that they look. I love the purples, I love the blues, I love the pinks. I just am a fan of all these colors, so they're just beautiful to me. They really stick out. They really, when you're looking at them, some of them, like this one, my favorite is one of these, the Knight of Swords, where the Knight of Swords is ready to just jump into this blob of light and go and be ready for it, and I love that. The cards are named differently. Some of them are like Death is transformation, the Hangman is perspective, the Judgment card is awakening, the Fool is starseed. So there's some differences to names, but nothing out of the or nothing crazy or anything. It also does come with one extra card that's called the Akashic Records. When this card comes up in a reading, it's really telling you that whatever you're focusing on in that reading, you should really try to access the Akashic Records about that particular information, because it will lead you to more information. So it is a great card. I love it, and it does work. It really does. I was just looking for a card. Oh, don't have it. And so these are beautiful. I will tell you, when I first got this deck, I actually was missing the Queen of Swords in the deck. I went through it and I went through it again, and I was like, I'm missing the Queen of Swords. And so I emailed the Daniel and Noel, and I got a response within a day, and they were like, we will ship you out a card. They literally shipped me the one Queen of Swords that I was missing. So it was very fast service, very prompt. This is the one they sent me. And I mean, I didn't have any problems. And this does ship from Canada, so if you're in the United States, you are going to have to wait a little bit to get it. It does take some time to get here, but it's worth it. The wait is truly worth it for these cards. Like I said, these are my babies. These are my soul deck. I usually only do readings now for myself with these cards, and they respond to me very well. I have a lot of decks that are very finicky, where they will do readings for others and like nobody's business, and then when I try to do a reading for myself, they're like, nope. They just give me a bunch of gibberish. So I really love that this deck reads for me, and it is just so beautiful. I love it, and I will continue to keep using it for a very long time, and it is one that I absolutely can say is one of my soul decks. So let's move on to the next deck. So the next deck, biggest thing I know is, in your set, you should always have a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So I'm not a fan of Rider-Waite-Smith. I never really have been. I didn't even buy my first Rider-Waite-Smith deck until I was, 15 years into the tarot world. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the images. I thought they were bland. I thought they were, 2D. I just did not like them. I did finally have some. I do have the normal Rider-Waite deck. I also have the Centennial Borderless edition now, because I wanted to buy them to work with them to see, how they went. I like them, but I'm just not a fan still. I just like other designs better. And I came across this one, and I absolutely love this one. For Rider-Waite-Smith, this is my deck that I would need to save if I had only 10 decks. What's awesome about this one, it does come with a little white guidebook and a bunch of languages. But what I love about these cards more than anything is the imagery on them. They are just beautiful. They have this refreshness to them where they feel like they're 3D, where you can see the details better. They're just so much brighter. There's so much more that you can see in them than you could see in your typical Rider-Waite, and that's what I love about these cards. I think they're just beautiful. They're stunning. They really make the characters in the cards come to life. They really make them feel like they're jumping out at you, and that is why I love this one the most. I also love it because it is borderless. So I just, I do prefer borderless cards, especially with the Rider-Waite deck. I think they're just more beautiful without the borders. This card, I love this. Like the Nine of Pentacles in your traditional Rider-Waite deck is so blurred almost that you can barely tell the details in the background. And this one, it just sticks out, and I love that. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. All the cards just have this refreshing, lively vibe to them that's just amazing. The Empress card is just beautiful. I mean, there is nothing about these cards that is not stunning, and I love the way that they were redone. I think this is probably my favorite Rider-Waite deck that I have ever seen. They are just beautiful. They're lovely, and they, they don't take away from anything that the original Rider-Waite had. They just give you more, better details, better, you know, 3D like images, and that's what the best part about these is. The other best part about them is also, I think I was reading, before I bought these, I was watching somebody, I can't remember who, a YouTube channel, they were talking about this deck. And they talked about how bad the cards were, how flimsy they were. Well, Lo Scarabeo must have listened to them, because now these cards are very thick. If you look at them, just taking a look at this, you can see how thick these are. They are massive. They're almost difficult to shuffle when you have, you know, I gotta use a lot of strength to make that shuffle happen like that. So these cards are very thick. They will not damage easily because they are just super thick now. So whoever did that review, I thank you, because obviously I bought them after that review and they said, oh, we got to make a cardstock here, because these are just, this is like super strong cardstock, which is awesome. So yeah, this is my Rider-Waite deck that I would keep if I had only 10 decks. My next one is, it's called Tarot of Atlantis. This is actually the third deck that I ever bought for myself. So yes, the box is a lot beat up. I bought this when I was about 17 years old, so about 20 years ago. It did come with a little white book. My little white book is missing some pages. There's been definitely some wear and tear on this since I got it a very long time ago. There's some, you know, stuff missing on them, but I love this deck. Reason I love this deck is I have always been in love with Atlantis, and so I was on this huge Atlantis hunt when I was like 17 years old, and I went to this magic shop. It's called the Magic Shop. Literally, this place is called the Magic Shop. And I found this deck there, and I found another deck that I'm going to show you there also. This was the second time I went. I found this deck, and I had to have it because it was Atlantis. And I mean, the images are very, some of them are very bright, and some of them are just very dark. It's very interesting how it goes through them, but it's like it tells the story of Atlantis through the cards, through its creation, through its beginnings, up until its destruction, and it is just lovely. I love the dragon, of course, because I am a dragon person, and it just really expresses, you know, what this artist's idea of Atlantis was, and what it was about, and what happened during that time, and it's just beautiful. It's like they took the idea of Atlantis and created a story through the tarot cards, and that's why I absolutely love it. The images are beautiful. There's a lot of different types of imagery in here, and that's why I think I like it so much, is there's just so many different things, like the Eight of Wands. You know, you always see fast moving Eight of Wands, but this is celebration. They're celebrating, they're having fun. You know, there's just so many different ways that they made these cards come to life, and it's beautiful. It is a deck you can still pick up, and I do have a link in the description box for it. And it is just a very nice deck. Like I said, I think it's awesome. Anybody who loves Atlantis, you know, this is a great deck to pick up, just to have, because, you know, I mean, it's Atlantis. It's something about Atlantis, so it is something, you know, that I recommend you pick up if you know, like Atlantis and everything like that. Like I said, this is very old. This is like 20 years old or so, but I do still see them out on the market a lot, and it's by Lo Scarabeo. I hope I pronounced it right. I do love Lo Scarabeo decks. I have many of them. I think they're just amazing, and this was, I think, the very first one I had. So let's get on with the next one. So my next deck that I would have to take with me is this one. It's called the Elemental Wisdom Tarot by Tarot Studios. This deck is by far the most beautiful deck I have ever seen or owned. I saw it, I was on like tarotarts.com looking for new tarot cards, and I found it, and I just was shocked at the imagery on this deck. It comes with this beautiful box. It is a magnetic clasp box. And on the back, it explains how the authors took 3 years to create this deck to make sure that it was perfect. The box is just beautiful. It keeps the cards safe. And it doesn't come with a guidebook, so it just comes with the box. What's nice though is you don't really need a guidebook with these. They do follow your traditional Rider-Waite system, so you can get any Rider-Waite guidebook and they will, you know, work with them. It also came with this extra card. It says in 2021 and 2022. So this was very, you know, strange. No one knew what this meant or anything. It was just in here. And I found out recently, because I went on their website again and a new deck had come out, that this is actually the moon in their newest deck, which I did of course already order. And this is actually also in their new deck as well. So I think that's really, really awesome. These cards, this version is the silk matte finish. So it is, you know, they stick a little. I've been breaking them in, but you still get that stickiness with them. They do rifle shuffle very nice, so I mean, it's a dream. They have the black edging, which is really, really nice. The only thing is that they do stick a little bit. Just take some time to shuffle. I actually just recently ordered, they've came out with the glossy version now. So I did order the glossy version just so I had a deck that I could manage more. And then this deck will be in my collectibles. So yes, I did that with that and 2 other decks that are also coming from Tarot Studios, which I will leave as a surprise for later. But this deck is just beautiful. The imagery on this deck is literally just beautiful. If you love beautiful artwork, I mean, this is the deck. I mean, there's just so much beauty here. The suits typically go through with the elements, so you can correlate. You see that it's kind of spring here, and that's what spring is with the pentacles. The major arcana are just beautiful. The colors just burst out. I mean, you can tell that it took a long time for someone to really look into this, to really decide what to do with these colors, these illustrations. It's just beautiful. There's the only thing I can say is when I saw them, it was just the most beautiful deck I'd ever seen. This card totally reminds me of Game of Thrones, I have to admit. But they just have such beauty, such detail in them, and it's just amazing how they look. And if you are a snob and you love beautiful decks, this is definitely the deck for you to get. It is just amazing. There is nothing I can say that other than I was just completely blown away by this deck when I received it. I did not realize how beautiful it was really going to be. And it is just an amazing deck. The imagery really speaks to you. The cards, you know, they just burst, and it's so easy to really give readings with these. And they're just beautiful, and I absolutely love them. That High Empress is just amazing. So this is a beautiful deck, and one I definitely will never let go of. Once again, this one is by Tarot Studios, and I do have a link in the description box below where you can order them. I will tell you also that I have seen these on Etsy and eBay recently going for $150 to $200. Do not buy them from there. 1, because you cannot tell if there's a fraud or not. And 2, because you can buy these from Tarot website for $69. They do ship from Poland, so it does take a while to get here, but you don't need to pay $150 for them. So please do some research, buy them directly from them, and you will make sure you have an original and not some kind of knockoff. The next deck I'm going to show you, or is actually 2 decks. So I did count them each separately as a deck, so I did not cheat. This is the Book of Shadows Tarot by Barbara Moore. So it has 2 decks, the As Above deck and the So Below deck. So this set comes with 2 decks. It comes with this beautiful guidebook. The guidebook really goes into the As Above deck, as it really talks more about pagan holidays, rituals, and it gives you a different idea of what the cards mean. So typically, the As Above deck, it relates more to spiritual things of spiritual nature and everything like that, where the So Below deck is really for the mundane, typical, daily answer questions, things like that. So they do have in here too, if you're new to tarot, a quick rundown of the So Below deck too, but most of this is really dedicated to the As Above deck. What's nice about these cards is that you can use them in conjunction with each other. So what I love about them is that literally I can do readings where I can have mundane questions, and then I can put a row of the spiritual As Above deck below it and get another meaning or go even deeper into the cards, which is something I love. These cards are just beautiful. They speak to me. They really work for all types of readings. Adding the As Above deck into them is just amazing because you get that extra layer. And so I really love doing readings with these. I bought them and I'm so happy I bought them. The imagery is very different on both of them. You can tell that these try to focus more on daily life. These are more spiritual. They are both beautiful in their own right though. And like I said, I use the So Below deck all the time, and then I use the As Above deck to get more clarification into the spiritual and everything like that. So I just love them. I love the interpretation of the cards too. With the So Below deck, it's a lot different. It's a little bit different than Rider-Waite. For example, the 10 of Swords isn't really about, you don't see someone with 10 swords stabbed in their back. You see a phoenix rising from the ashes. And that's how I've always seen the 10 of Swords, as you're dying to be reborn again. And so I just love the imagery. Speaking of the 10 of Swords, this is what it looks like. So it gives you such a more positive idea of it, and you really, this is kind of, it's like it read my mind, like it knew exactly what I've always been thinking when I'd seen the 10 of Swords. And so they're just beautiful. Both decks are wonderful. You can buy them together in a box set, or you can buy them separately. If you only want one deck and you don't want the other deck, you can do that. But I do recommend buying both decks. I do recommend getting the box set just because you do get so much more information out of them when you're using both decks together. You don't have to, but you do get more of the information. So I really recommend these cards. I love them. They're by Barbara Moore, and I will leave a link in the description box below also about them. And so my next deck, see, I got 2 more decks to go. Okay, and these ones are going to be fun. So my next deck is my first deck that I ever bought for myself. So this box actually carries a lot of meanings. So when I was about 11 years old, I'd been having some psychic phenomena occurring, and so my mom wanted me to talk to my aunt. We went down to Florida, and my mom, told me my aunt kind of had some special gifts and stuff, and thought that she might be able to talk to me about them. And so I talked to her, and she gave me my first tarot deck, and she put it in this box. And so I've had this box for a very long time now. The first tarot deck she gave me was a starter tarot deck. One second. And it was actually this tarot deck. This is a copy. This is not the original one she gave me. The original one she gave me got lost and very beat up. But this is what it looked like. And it just had the words on the top, words on the bottom, and it just had some pictures and stuff like that. So that was the first deck that I ever had tarot-wise. And she gave it to me, and she gave me a book to start learning. And she put it in here, and, you know, I used it for a couple of years. And then finally, I was at Barnes & Noble one day, and it had just opened by my house. And so I went and I looked in their spiritual section, and I found they had tarot cards. So they were selling tarot cards. I think they do still sell them behind the desk now, but they used to sell them just like on the floor. And so I found my first tarot deck there. And that was the Celtic Dragon Tarot by Lisa Hunt and DJ Conway. And this deck, this is actually a newer version. This isn't the same version I bought. I had to buy another one just because my first deck got really destroyed. I think I moved about 20 times. And I kept them, but they just started getting really, really beaten up. So I got a new version of the deck at some point. But I just love these cards. I am a huge dragon fan. And I love anything and everything about dragons. And these cards are just beautiful. And this is what I really started doing readings for people. I used these cards. I used... you know, the guidebook that came with it was like 200 pages. I mean, and I just loved the imagery. I loved the interpretations of the cards. And these, you know, I just loved them. Like, I love the dinosaur here with the Page of Cups. It's just beautiful. I said dinosaur. Dragon. Woo, sorry. But I just love these cards. And I always will. I will continue to get new copies as I need to for these, because I just love them so much, and they're filled with nostalgia for me, because you know, these are the cards that I used for so long. For about the first 15 years of my tarot life, I had 3 decks, and that was it. And it wasn't until, you know, about 15 years into it, so about 10 years ago, that I really started actually collecting other decks. And then it wasn't until a couple years ago that I got into the oracles. I didn't even know what oracle was. And I was like, what are these? What do these do? And I was at a shop, and they explained them to me, and I said, oh, that's very neat. So I started, you know, collecting them and everything. But for the most part, I mean, I used the same 3 tarot decks for everything. For every type of reading, for everything that was possible. And this is one of them. And I just love this deck. I love the imagery. I love everything about them. And what's nice is they are a mass market deck. So, like I said, I had them for over 20 years. They got destroyed, so I just bought another set. So it was very, very nice, because you don't have to worry about that. And we're with indie decks, you know, if you destroy them, they're gone. And you probably won't be able to get them again without paying a pretty penny. So this is the first deck that I ever bought. It's the Celtic Dragon Tarot by DJ Hunt and Lisa Conway. DJ Conway and Lisa Hunt. Wow, I'm sorry, my brain is half working today. And finally, the last deck that I would have is my second deck that I ever bought, which is the Cosmic Tarot deck. This deck I bought at, literally the place was called the Magic Shop. I went in there, I was looking at their tarot decks, and I found this deck, and it called to me. And as soon as I picked it up, I could feel the energy within them. And I just had to have them. And what's nice about this deck is I was actually able to recently get a new version. So I do have a new version. This silk, or this velvet that these cards are in is actually the original velvet that I've had this deck in for 23, 24 years. We're going to age myself here. So this is a newer version of this same deck I bought. This is the original. You can tell that there is definitely a difference between them. So I did rebuy a new version of this deck. This is the older one, and so I just put it in here. It comes with, you know, the little white book, kind of gives you some spreads, but there's also a Kindle that's out there that really goes deep into the cards and their meanings, that I highly recommend picking up if you do own this deck, because it goes into the more esoteric symbolism of the deck, which is really, really, I mean, detailed and amazing, and it's something that really gives you more to your readings. The cards on this deck are just beautiful. I love the imagery of these cards. The colors just pop. They really give you an idea of what the card means. And then there's just so many details. If you really take your time and look at the details and everything like that. For example, like this one, the King of Pentacles. Usually you think of Pentacles, you think of Capricorn, and back here is a goat at the very edge of the hill. So it's just something really neat. There's just little things that you can notice about the cards that pop up that, you know, if you take some time looking into it, it's very, very neat. And there's just so much detail in these cards. They're beautiful. They really stand out, and they're just very, very nice. The energy on them is amazing. If you are the kind of person that touches things and can feel the energy of things, these are just like this deck for me is like when Harry Potter's in the wand shop and he finally gets his wand and everything lights up around him and all the wind blows. Like, that's how this deck feels when it's in my hands. It's just that beautiful. The different colors, I just love the colors of the cards. I just, you know, there's nothing about these cards that I don't like, and these cards can be used for any type of reading, and I've used them for every single type of reading possible. Like I said, it was one of 3 decks that I had for a very long time, so I used, you know, those 3 decks for any readings that came up, any type of queries that came up, for everything. So I really love these cards, and I will always keep this deck. It's just amazing, and it's beautiful, and it is a deck that has always worked with me, and it's always been helpful, and it's always guided me, so I just really love it. I just love the pictures too. This almost reminds me of, honestly, this picture reminds me of Gone with the Wind with Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara. And then just bright. They're beautiful. They really show you the meaning of the card within them, which is really awesome. That card's upside down. And that is the Cosmic Tarot. It is by Norbert Loesch, and you can still pick them up. They're still available. Like I said, I just recently purchased this new version from the old version I had. So they are still available, and they're still, you know, not very much. They're not very expensive. And so they are easy to get. So thank you for tuning in. This was my VR to Katey Flowers on the Only 10 Decks challenge. And all the cards where you can buy them are going to be linked in the description below. If you liked this video, please give me a like. Also hit that notification bell to get subscribed to my channel, where you can find videos as I put them out. And thank you again, my beautiful, beautiful souls, for tuning in to me today. Thank you. Bye.